Hey everybody, before I even start here, I wanted to pop in and just explain my goal with this video. There are lots of good reviews of Tales of Argosa and also a lot of good playthroughs. And what there isn't as much of is single how to play videos. Usually this is not my forte, but let that be a testament to how simple it is to learn this game that I feel confident enough to do a how-to video. Now, Steve G from Pickpocket Press, who authored this book, has a series of videos just showing various parts of play, and those are great, certainly more authoritative than I can ever be, given that he wrote it. But I thought it would be cool to create this video to just show you how to boot up the game, how to get started, not only character creation, but like how to play, how to do checks, etc. And so my goal here is that by the end of this video, you should be able to play. So if you don't have the game, I do a buyer's guide in the first 10 minutes of the video on the different parts of it, and we'll see the new NPC Generator Deck as well. We'll review that. And then if you do have it though, pull it off the shelf. Maybe this would be a good time to make a character and get through the sort of slog of the initial learning how to play. And hopefully, if I do my job right, you'll be able to keep going after the video is done. All right, so let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome. Today we are talking Tales of Argosa by Pickpocket Press. Specifically, we're going to take a look at the cool new NPC Generator Deck sent to me by Steve G, who made no demands of my review, or even if I did do a review. It's just a cool guy. And so we'll take a look at that, but in the meantime, what is all this? It is hard to live in a world when you run a solo tabletop role-playing game channel and Tales of Argosa exists, because the truth is that if I didn't run this channel and I didn't have what I sometimes see as like my vocation is to share and try a lot of different games, and I'm all the better for it, of course. But if I weren't on this path, I would play Tales of Argosa probably 25% or more of all my solo gaming time. It is just one of those games that is a cut above. It is simply noticeably better than other games. And the reasons for that, some of them are effable, and some of them I cannot articulate because I am not good enough and experienced enough. And I just know that the choices made in this book, in this game, are the intentional work of somebody who has a deep understanding of the player experience. That does not always happen. And in fact, more and more, there is way more time spent on some games thinking about what the creator of that game wants to sort of show you. This is not pure vanity. I certainly have that thought when I make a game, and I think having that thought is part of what makes something original and beautiful. That is fine, but I do think it is starting to get to the point where the game player experience is the last thing on that list. And I have an example here of a send-off that I am giving these 49 miniatures who are from the Warhammer Quest Dark Water game. Now, if you're a member, $3.99 a month, you could see videos like the one I did doing like a little bit of a solo playthrough of Warhammer Quest Dark Water. You also get to join the Discord. Link is below. It's fun. It's fun. It is. It is really fun. Anyways, sorry. I was pretty excited about it. It has solo rules baked into it, and I don't usually like Warhammer's current fantasy setting. And so I usually don't get into that, but Warhammer Quest, I purchased this for over $200. I don't remember how much. I think it was $229 for these 49 miniatures. That if you are a collector, that is worth it, simply because talk about a cut above. GW models are a cut above. But I painted all of these up. I played some solo, played through that 2 or 3 times. The map, I can't, it's a little unwieldy, but this is 20 maps in this huge hardcover booklet. I mean, this is, I think I'll never feel bad about getting this simply because of that book and these miniatures. But after now playing with my friend 3 times, I can firmly say, this game is not fun. To me, I don't think it's the worst Games Workshop game of all time, as other people have said a little recklessly, but it simply isn't fun. And not only that, it has certain areas that are completely or damn near broken. There is a boss fight that we were laughing about because you just can't win. Given the laws of physics, you would have to have this guy, Drolf, who has like a sprint option, and you'd have to crit like 7 times in a row and fade through walls to attack Falhoof here before he completes the sacrifice in this level. So it's just, you can't win it. And I want, think about that. Like, they didn't even correct this in the last errata release. It's because I don't think they care. The gameplay is the last thought I think they had about this. I could give you a whole video on why it's just not fun, but because we're not talking about it, and this is a side point to get to my main point, I'll say that there's a tremendous misunderstanding of what sort of player progression is fun. The rewards are not rewarding. You feel scammed at the end of levels because you barely ever get to like get and use what you earn. You have to choose between it and take one thing. So you'll play through a level for an hour and a half and then you'll end with like a potion. There's just no difference between these characters. Like, functionally, they all feel the same. Like, a Nara Scion can make like a little toilet bowl on the player's map and then shoot the toilet bowl elsewhere. I forgot what it's called. It's like a cyclone. Drolf could run through walls, but other than that, it's like move, roll, hit, block, hit, block. I mean, we tried I drove to my friend's house. We set it up. We played 3 times. And at the end of that, I'm like, it's just not fun. And on top of that, every time something like that happens, I just think about games like Tales of Argosa that are so good and comparatively so cheap. And in fact, the reason why I called this a deluxe overview of the game is because I'm using all the little this and that's that are available for the game: core book, dice, card deck, and I've actually totaled up pricing so that I can show you if you wanted to get the digital version of each of these, or if you wanted to get the physical version, or both, like what it's going to cost you. But even at its most expensive, $118, that is half as much as this game. And yeah, you don't get these miniatures, of course not. But ultimately, who cares what miniatures I got? Like, if the game isn't fun, then the game isn't fun, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Like, if there was a game that was a 2-page miniature book that you had to get a magnifying glass to read, if it was fun, then that's all that matters, right? And yeah, there is some sort of like actuarial assessment that could be done, fun units per money, but the bottom line is, it's difficult to know that there is this game that at any time I could go play and it's just going to blow games like this out of the water.
The Dark Water. Oh wait, we're talking about Tales of Argosa. Shit.
Okay, really quick before we fully get into it, I do want to go back to the pricing here for a second. So, this little screenshot shows the prices as of today, Saturday, May 30th, 2026. I don't know how long that sale's been going on. I don't know how long it will go on. It could end in a week. It could be on a sale that it's been on for months. What I'm trying to say is it is on sale right now. The link is below, but I don't want you to feel like there's any urgency or any FOMO like that. Sales happen all the time. And this is, though, I would say a good deal. If you get the hardcover, softcover, the PDF comes free. And the softcover, while I don't have the softcover of this, I did purchase the hardcover. Uh, I could tell you that Drive Through RPG gets all of their books printed by the same place. This place, Lightning Source. I guess I shouldn't say all of them. I don't know if they have different ones for different areas, but I've gotten every single one from Lightning Source, and they do a good job. And in fact, I would say that their relatively speaking, their softcover books are of higher quality than hardcover books, like compared to their peers. I don't know. So yeah, this is something that I'll probably be using the PDF today as we get into it, simply because it'll be better for table space. But this is a book that is going to get heavy usage. It has a great GM screen that is free. It's like a 4-page GM screen that you can get on DriveThruRPG. It will give you 2 files for $0, and the files are like portrait and landscape, and they're fantastic. However, because this is such a solo-friendly book, there are just so many tables and generators and everything that you just couldn't make a GM screen out of it. I mean, it would be a 30-page GM screen, and then at that point, like, what is it? So, whatever choice you make, if you do want to pick this up, just know that if you were planning on solo playing it and you're thinking this is a game where once you get the basic gist of it down, you're going to kind of put the book aside, that has not been my experience. This deck of signs will also use that today. This is a really good Oracle deck, also on sale right now. And actually have both of these right here. So these deck of signs come in this box. Really nice illustrations on each of them, but I wish more Oracle cards would do this rather than like boxing themselves into a center thing. Kind of the characters on them are a part of it, and that is some like additional evocative input that spurs ideas. It's all about sparking ideas. So there's like all around it, there is related, thematically related words here. Just to give like a little sample, let me lay a few out here. All right, this is the best I could do with any other lights I turn off, we'll be in the dark. Here's a good spread of these here, and it has the descriptive words in the middle top of each card. It also has just direction, well, I guess in the bottom on some of them, but that can be useful for traveling, hex crawling, enemy projectiles, or I don't know, shrapnel or something like that. Also, on every card, you'll be able to see there is moon that is either empty, filled in, as well as a sun, empty and filled in. And there is like a little explainer that came with this. I remember. Yeah, there we go. You can see the light sun is morning, dark afternoon, evening, late night. And this is important because if you've played Forbidden Lands, for example, there are like 4 shifts in a day. Now, this will be a little bit different in solo play, depending on what version of solo play that you play. This one is going to be the lone wolf version of solo play, which means we're going to have one powered up character. And so we'll have different ways to cover the various duties that are required of us. But I think that this is a fantastic Oracle deck. I want to take a minute and just explain why that is. I'm afraid that when I say, "Oh, it's a great Oracle deck," that just sounds like something nice to say, that if you were next to me at a party, I would lean over and say, you seen one Oracle deck, you seen them all, right? But no, I really do believe that this is a fantastic deck. And the reason for that is because for me and the way that my thoughts work, my mind becomes more creatively resourceful and agile when I am working on an economy of choices. When I have too many choices is when my brain uh, just goes into a fetal position and says, "No more, no more, please make it stop." Now, I think the intuition that most people would have, uh, the sort of common sense would be that it's the opposite, right? That the more choices make a better Oracle deck. And for some people, yeah, probably. I mean, this is just for me, but I suspect others feel the same way. For instance, a fantastic, renowned Oracle deck is the Game Master's Apprentice from Larcenous Designs. Another one that is like the industry standard is the Adventure Crafter from Mythic, who Tana Pigeon. I'm not sure if Tana does the cards, but the Mythic GME system. Um, and these are great. Like there is so much good information on these. There's all these different genres: fantasy, cyberpunk, post-apocalyptic, etc. Um, and I use this in a pinch. It has nice resources on it, and also these do more than just Oracle inputs. There's like theme, cards, tension, personal. So you can get pretty far. There's like a plot lines thing and numbers, chaos rating, everything. But I just don't use them very often because I'm overwhelmed by them. Um, every time that I reach, even for dice, I am drifting away from my story. And really, the way that I think of uh, immersion, the way that I reach a sort of flow state while play, it is a regrettable thing to have to leave that. Because when I leave that, it's like going pee during the best part of a movie, and you don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're missing, and then you don't know what you don't know. And so really, I always think of that horrible, amazing game system by Nintendo that was lost to time, the Virtual Boy, where it was like this headset and everything was red and actually looked kind of cool. There was like different layers in the games. But anyways, if you're playing that and you had to get your controller dropped or something, you would reach around to like the counter to find it, and you wouldn't want to pull yourself out of that because then you're back in the kitchen. And so most times dice, cards, everything, I can go into the kitchen for a little while. That's not a problem. I can go right back into it. But when I have to investigate all of these different things, and now I am overloaded with things, which one is the best here? And really, I don't want the card to tell me what's next in the story. Um, I don't I don't even want to use the card. I want it to be my own. And I think here again, this has got to be a world record of me mentioning Maria Montessori again, but the Montessori method of schooling, Maria Montessori has this quote that always really stuck with me. I was a Montessori kid, was whatever you do for me, you take from me. And so for me, these cards, they don't do it for me. They say, "All right, you have the story. So here's just like some things to kind of metal detect these thoughts that are just under the surface here. You're still going to dig, and you're the one that planted them. But I guess if it's a metal detector, you're the one that dropped your coins or whatever." And I really do appreciate that. It's almost the perfect amount of stuff here. And the directional stuff, the time, that's just sort of an extra bonus. But if this was like spackled all over it, if there was like a sandwich and a Garfield and I don't know, a remote control car and all this stuff, like I would then say, Oh no, I have.
Oh boy, I'm gonna have to sift through all this.
Now, those of you who are still allergic to using cards during play, rejoice because there is also some dice options. Now, I think that using the deck of signs in concert with the bones and activity dice is going to be the best option, but of course, it's up to you and your preferences. So, these are available on Game Crafter. This is the activity die, and these are the bones. So this is, I think, the judgment die, the fortune die, and the twins of fate. This is a Y for yes. That's sort of a Y for yes. And this is a lowercase n. And this one, which is slightly different, but the same, is also a lowercase n. So it's basically yes, no, and blank. And what you do with these, I'll show you in a second. So these are $21.99 on Game Crafter, plus shipping, etc. But also, you may have noticed that beneath that, what that is, I actually really like these. This is an app. Let me make it a little bigger. I wish I could be more specific, but the app is called Dice, and there's a link to it on Pickpocket Press's website. I'll link to it below. There we go. So this is pretty clever because for $3.99, and I should add that the $3.99 is not Steve G nickel and diming for this. It's the fact that like this app, if you get it as is like the free download, it essentially has a few different colors of dice. But if you want to do a one-time payment of $3.99, it allows you to add custom dice. Not only there's actually an amazing amount of options that it has. So as far as the dice, what they do, the one that I use quite often is the activity die, and pretty easy to differentiate different symbols on here. Of course, it's always good to have at least one die in your household that has just a chicken leg on it. But this one in the book here is separated by intelligent and other creatures. And just a great shorthand for the first thing before we even use the NPC deck, we can look at this to see what is this person doing. And we might, if we were to extend this a bit, if I were to build this out a bit, I would not only have the division between intelligent and other creatures, but I would also have something about like setting. I probably would put different possibilities if I was in a tavern or in a city versus an overland exploration and dungeon. But this is not really, again, to give you all the answers of what they're doing. It's just sort of the first approach. So that die is kind of separate. This is the activity die. These are consulting the bones. Again, this is the judgment die, the fortune die, the twins of fate. The idea here is that the twins of fate are going to be the yes no generator. So, strictly speaking, yeses and nos cancel each other out. And so, if you get a roll like that, you're then going to roll this, and the judgment die sort of referees that. There are instructions on how to do advantage or disadvantage or to sort of skew it if something is more likely. You would like re-roll any no's. But I actually agree with Culinary Art of Gaming's assessment of this, which is another fantastic video. And also, if you're watching this, please make more videos. Your videos are great. But I think he points out, like, he doesn't since you're using the Oracle die a lot, you don't want to, like, be re-rolling this dice all the time, and so what he says, and I like this, is if you want to give advantage to a certain outcome or skew it a certain way, if it is likely, then you make the blank sides into a yes in your mind, and if it's unlikely, you make the blank sides into no's. All right, so like right here, that would be if I was saying this was likely, then I would say, okay, yes, it's yes and another yes here because the blanks are yes because it's more likely. I think that works pretty well. In general, I think the advantage it has over a more traditional just yes, no, yes, but, yes, and thing is that there is a a tale that can be told here with the addition of the fortune die, because the fortune die, depending on what it comes up as, it not only answers your query, it also tells you if something fortunate or unfortunate is going to happen. So remember, this is not a skill check. So when you're using an oracle, you're not saying like, am I able to jump up onto this cliff face? Well, that's a skill check, right? Or attribute check. This is to get information about the world. And so when you add this though, and you say, is there a bridge nearby? And you roll an absolute yes. And then you roll this, and that comes up. You're like, yep, there is a bridge. And it looks sturdy to me, but maybe. He also points out that the fortune die does not have to directly relate to whatever the question is being asked about. So it could start raining. It also doesn't have to be like a devastating effect. If I was asking about a bridge and that came up, um, I would not make myself fall to my death just because of that. But I would maybe say, all right, the bridge looks a little bit old. So we need to maybe either lose time by going across it quickly, or sorry, slowly, or we need to run across it quickly to make sure that we get there without it falling down on one side and having to waste time and maybe losing a hit point for the classic bridge falls and it goes boom and then you got to climb up it on the ladder. Anyways, these dice are pretty handy and I'll try to use them. Usually I use the activity die. I'm going to try to use the oracle die a little bit when I do examples, just so that we can stay consistent throughout. All right, so as stated, Pickpocket sent me these new NPC generator cards to take a look at, and they look great. Just like the deck of signs, they have a specific uniform art style, but within that art style, which is sort of an outline ink pen sketch, it's just enough to give you details and a sense of who each of them are without crowding out the rest of the information on the card. And I think that they just nail this on both accounts. Here, you're going to have a portrait. All of them are awesome. Like, it's pretty amazing that each and every one of these are so unique. Bottom right corner, you'll have a letter indicating their species, 4 different names. And then on the back, you have a physical quirk. So this one is hums to self. You have a mental quirk, ruthless, quite a quirk. You have on the top, their sort of a class or profession. And on the bottom is a secret, something that is not immediately obvious. So profits from the misery of others. And I think the best way to do this is what I like to do is you lay out like 3 and then you could choose one. I like this guy because I also like to imagine this is not what is intended, but I like to think that these 4 names are not options, but their full name. So this is Harding Emery Shand Bennett. And so you choose one of these, and then you put out 4 of these just like this. Okay. Do this. And there we go. And then, et voila, we now have Harding, Emery, Shand, Bennett, or any of those 4, and is a barkeep who hums to himself, quite a schemer, and that is much in line with his secret, which is he is a spy for a rival criminal faction. And again, a just enough, a great economy of information. You see, like, with those 4 things, how definitive is that character, right? That is a definitive character. We can build it from there because we know this guy. We didn't need 35 different things. Even cooler is just to demonstrate the power of the connective tissues of the mind. It could feel like, oh, well, that was kind of like a lucky good draw here, but let's just switch them around. Let's just reverse these and see if we notice this character as well. So now we have Harding Emery Shand Bennett, who is a merchant who has friends in high places. Actually, if you just saw what that other one said, I kind of love that one. I'll show you. So it's a merchant with friends in high places, has hand tremors, and is ruthless. And by accident, we actually got an accidental gift here. The top one of this peeked out. It says Corpse Stealer, which somehow also fits in all of this. It is not just convenient. It is not just aesthetically good. It is not just a cool idea. Again, it is a system that shows you the difference between somebody who is able to make a game and somebody who is good at making games. This game, this deck, Tales of Argosa itself, the adventure modules, they are all well made and made well. They are all good. They are all engineered to enjoy. Speaking of those adventures, I've pointed this out before. Here are three. These are a great deal. $9.95 to get the PDF and the soft cover, and I have three of these here. The one I actually want to just use in this video, we won't go through it exactly, but it's one that I don't have yet. I have the PDF for it. We'll take a look at it. But in case you missed the last video, the thing that I love about these, again, somebody who knows what it is like to solo play and has the end product in mind, like the end user's experience. Even these pre-written adventures, what is always the problem with these with solo play is that you have decision points that you don't know when they're coming, and once you read them, you can't unknow them, so it takes away some of the anticipation. Now, this is not a perfect fix, but it's damn near close to it. Is you have bullet points provide suggestions on how to handle possible interactions with the room's contents. And then there's different bullet points for what they relate to. So you could, if you want, just look at the bullet points and not even look that specifically yet on what they indicate. Red is for creatures and traps, green is for directions, and blue is treasure. And so if you're reading and you are scanning over the page, I don't even have to read the words on here, but I know just out of my peripheral vision that right now there are bullet points right here. There is red words that are spackled throughout here, and there are, well, I have trouble with this one, but blue or green um, words over here. So I know that there might be some treasure here, but I don't know which. Either way, I'm going to cover that so that I still have some sense of surprise. And I just think that that works great. And so they very much are hospitable to solo players. And I really should use one of the ones I have here. They're all really good. This one is a little bit sci-fi actually, but still cool. Sky Tower. But the reason I want to use the new one is because the Lost Roads of Dol Karak, and by the way, new, I don't know how new. It's the newest one. I'm 2024, so I don't have this one, so I don't know. But this one I put it has to be 2 pages because it has. I just have to show you the amazing city here that you have access to in this game. The art is just so cool. You have all the different named sites here. And then you have this very much like Moria type underground cavern that you can see. Hopefully, too much zoom in. Oh my goodness. Different coordinates up and down this different place so that you can progress through it. I mean, it's huge. And it actually also has this exploration tracker so that you can show who is on watch. If there were, like, when there's a travel event, you check it off, as well as a hex map, exploration notes, and as if it wasn't enough that the dungeon and overland travel generators in the book are just amazing. This adventure has a whole new set of room complications, creatures, loot, different rooms that you can go to, and it's just look at that. Terrain types, point of interest. And this one is just $9.95. Or for this PDF, I just paid $5. So this one is especially good. I mean, they're all good. They all have things to offer, but this one is just a straight up good tool. You're getting like a refresh bestiary. You're getting some pre-generated characters here, and it's fantastic. And then on the back of these is always this player cheat sheet, which with in addition to the free GM screen, it's like no matter what, you just have some nice man named Bob Argosa helping you out. It upset me, even, and I was the one who said it. So all right, I'm gonna roll it. Let's do it. Come on. I'm terrified right now. Is that good? Bad? I can't. Oh, I only see a few ones. All right, let me write it down. I am going to do full character creation because it'll help us like understand what's going on. But please, won't you join me? Free character sheets, all you can eat. And this is basically just the chopped up GM screen scattered about. I'm going to write these in no particular order. Wow, what a ride. So when I started writing the results down at first, I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And then I was like, whoa, this is way too good. I need to re-roll. And then I was like, this is like kind of the perfect, this is like the perfect roll. So just going from top to bottom, you could see that the initial like sort of raw score is 3d6. And then this raw score produces a modifier. And I had 3 plus 1s, nothing negative, which I think is pretty good. However, as you see on the left side of the screen, there will be lone wolf augmentations that will use to sort of fortify the solo player once we're done generating the sort of base level character, just to make it more fair. And we'll come back to that after we do the regular character creation. So if you look at number 3 here, generate attributes by rolling 3d6 7 times, allocate the results in order to all of the attributes. You must have at least one attribute of 13 or higher and another of 15 or higher. If not, increase one attribute of your choosing to 13 and or 1 to 15 as required. So I do have one of 13. Now we have to figure out which one we want to push to 15. And 15 will put us up to bottom right here, a +2 modifier, attribute modifier. But also of note, the attribute level generates 2 other important landmark numbers on the timeline, which my brain automatically thinks of as Great Scott and the F. And that's not too far off, because if you divide your attribute in half and then round down, then you have the Great Success. And if you hit that number or lower with that stat, you have a great success. And if you do the opposite, hit your total failure, TF number or higher, you have a total failure. And that just means you suck real bad. Interestingly, the nat number in this is 19. If you roll like a nat 19 with weapons and stuff like that, that is usually what is a crit value with weapons. But for this, it isn't anything that you have to like memorize, because as you can see on the character sheet, like you have it right in front of you the whole time. You're Great Scott, and you're Tim Ferriss, author of 4 Hour Body. All right, not funny. Let's go. All right, so I will decide what gets pushed up to 15, and I'm not cheating or anything, but that does come at number 3. So let me roll 1d12 first to see what race I am, and then maybe with that 9. Okay, yeah, human. So human, and then D66 for background. I'm just thinking like maybe it'll come into focus which one is here. I guess there we go. See, look at this, the gravity, ridiculous. All right, 62, right? Is that, yep. Ah, okay. So, jeez, it's real physics engine going on here. Hell yes. Swineherd. And I get a pig as a dog. Like it's statted up like a dog. This rules. Okay, so I get an extra Percocet. No, so that would be +1 perception. But when I think pig, human pig man, what do I want to push up? I mean, I really don't have the choice that I think I do. It's either strength or dexterity. And since I have a pig to look after now, it's more than just like what's best for me. I now have to think what's best for us. And while I think it would be good to be strong for my pig, I also think that pigs are very smart. And so a lot of times I'm going to have to be um catching catching him. I should generate his name. Okay, I was going to go random, but I turned the deck over and saw Bertram. I absolutely love Bertram. So it's Bertram, Bert. I also think it feels more appropriate to like think he's like my roommate. You know what I mean? He's not my animal, he's my roommate. Yeah, this is the right move to push up Dex because not to be a mid-man maxer, but if we push up Dex to 15 and that gives us a +2 here, then our initiative is Dex plus intelligence, 26 divided by 2 rounded down, so that'd be 13, and that would put our initiative at +1. Perfect. You hear that, Bert? Yeah, our initiative went up. All right, so bottom right, we have quite a loadout here for a wolf or dog, which is what it says to assign the pig to. Wolves weigh up to 100 pounds. Check. Are pack hunters. Yes, Bertram does hunt for packs of like beef sticks or cigs. I think he smokes still. May be found in large numbers. I assume that means large numbers of pounds. And pig stats may substitute for hunting dogs, war dogs, and so on. Awesome stat line here. Feels a feels a bit much for a dog, but you know what? Bert, he's built different, man. He was if it wasn't for a knee injury, he would have gone, if not Division 1, he would have gotten a partial scholarship to a Division 2 college, like in Indiana or something. All right, so I feel like I should be a ranger because like a lot of this aligns with being a pig dad roommate. And there's even like the beast companion skill here and wolf viper, geez. I think this will be good. I think that this will be I don't think I have to do this, but I think that it will provide me a nice framework because it even says like if my companion dies, yeah, right. All that means is if Bert passes out, then I have to resuscitate him. Your companion is an especially smart, brave, and loyal beast, which under your handling is uniquely suited to the rigors of adventuring. You share a special bond and communicate using sounds, touch, hand gesture, body language, and text. He has a phone. Your beast companion gains the following benefits: max hit points, +2 HP. I love this. I love this. I'm so happy right now. Bert? Yes, sir. Put your phone away. All right, so this is cool. Bold and self-reliant, your skill with the bow is rightly feared, and your herbalist lore respected. Many consider you a lone wolf, hey, but your party allies and beast friend provide all the fellowship you need. You mean my party ally and beast friend who are the same person? Beholden to none, you alone decide your fate, free as the pig and boundless as the sky. Key attribute is perception. Got it. Now, for the lone wolf upgrade, it says 25 plus class. So equal to constitution level plus constitution score plus level times 2. So that would actually be pretty high. It would be 25. My constitution is 13 plus level times 2 is 2, so it would be 40. And that is not abnormal in this game to have an HP that high. And by the way, I know I said I was going to write on paper for all this, but I will do that after. I think it'd be hard for me to keep switching back and forth here. One-handed weapons, all ranged weapons except heavy crossbow, light and medium armor. Start with a longbow, quiver, short sword, leather armor that gives me +1 AC. So I have animal lore, wilderness lore, stealth, plus I get 1d10 3 times. Let's do that now. Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you just like swipe down, the dice go away. And also, oh yeah, is that a D? No, that's not a D10. And then you could also just sort of, here, copy that. There we go. I'm gonna copy. So we have 8, 4. I knew it was gonna. Let's re-roll that. I don't know what the heck. Well, okay. Jeez. 2, 4, 8. All right. So what is that here? That is athletics, deception, and persuasion. Cool. I am a scumbag, but an athletic scumbag. So how cool is this, by the way? Right on the bottom, we have the ranger attack bonuses and abilities level 1 through 9. Again, I'm going to be promoted to level 3. So I am going to add all of my like attribute upgrades, and then I have Beast Companion, I have Ranger Craft, which are both described on the next page here. I'll talk about those. Then I can add a new skill. The skill I was hoping I was going to get was Traps and Locks, so I will add that. And then I get a unique feature at level 3 as well. So what does that mean? Like a aquiline, like what? All right, so just a few things here. I have been just going through adding my weapons, and I wanted to brief you on that. I'll brief you on everything, but just so I don't forget anything, because we're starting on level 3. I went through the level 2 and 3 upgrades here, and I started with Beast Companion and Ranger Craft, and both of those here. The Beast, who is my buddy, actually will level up along with me, like +2 HP per Ranger level. It's really cool and has some like higher level capabilities that will emerge over time, including like they will increase the armor protection or armor class of the party in later levels. It's really cool. And then this Ranger Craft, I get to use this once per level, the amount of times of the level number. So I'm at level 3. I'll be able to use this 3 times until I level up to level 4. Then I'll be able to use it 4 times. And I love the first one here. Animal, can you and your beast briefly exchange detailed information? But there are like 10 more on the next page as well. I guess 11 more. I also got Steady Shot from 2nd level, which means that takes away, at long range, that takes away an enemy's armor class, like any AC bonus that they got from being in cover, they lose that. There's a second part of Steady Shot that doesn't really apply. Basically, it's if you miss a long range shot and your ally is in range, you'd have to do like a check to make sure your arrow didn't stick them on the back of the head. That won't be something that we're worried about. And then the unique feature is actually sort of a big deal. We get that at 3rd level. I did get a new skill at 2nd level, and I added Apothecary. So I added traps and locks for the additional skill that we got right away, and then apothecary. I thought that would just be good to heal myself and Bert. Now, what's interesting is at 5th level, the ranger gets a second attack, but being that we're playing lone wolf, I already get a second attack. So when I get there, I'll have to figure out what to do. It's not going to happen in this session here, probably 2 or 3 sessions from now, but um, that will be interesting because part of me says, well, I should get a third attack then, and then another part of me says, well, let's see how that goes. Because having 3 attacks, that's that's pretty powerful, especially as I get more powerful. And this game, um, it is not a like single digit stat game, right? It's not like Karen or something like that, but it's also not fully intended to be a Scarlet Heroes where you're like a superhero. However, when we're playing as the lone wolf, we do have to take that into account is that our character has to be like super good to survive. So it is okay if they are like head and shoulders above other people, and we have other things to look forward to as well as we continue to level up. Now, one thing that I think I am gonna do is you can swap two attributes, so you can push one up to 13 and up to 15, and I pushed Dex up to 15. I already had one at 13, and then you could swap any two. Since my key attribute for the Ranger is Perception, I think I'm going to swap Perception, which I have a 10 plus 1 because you get a plus 1 um, for Constitution. And I think that that's a good idea because Perception will be tested for my ranged attacks, and it's just it's a really special capability of this ranger to do range attacks, and so it makes sense that somebody who is more of a ranged combatant is going to try and stay back a little bit and might not have the strongest constitution while having a high level perception. Okay, and so that is going to shift a few things around, and I'm going to do that now. But also, I have luck is starts at 11, and then rerolls start at 2. And this is a thing for humans get +1 rerolls, and that is something as well that will have to sort of like recharge, but we'll cover that as well. I'm just trying to fill in everything here so that I can explain it all at once, but I had a weird feeling I was gonna forget that. So the one thing though, I am going to talk about next is the unique feature, and that should be just about everything that I need to put in here, like special. Um, Other than I think I need to increase another attribute from leveling up. So at level 1, you get +1 attack bonus, and then Beast Companion and Ranger Craft. All right, so we have that already. And then level 2, you get another +1 attack bonus and a new skill. I took locks and what the hell was it? Locks and keys, locks and traps and locks. That was a good pick, Malone. And then we got steady shot, and now we get this unique feature. But also, every time you level up, just based on the rules of advancement, you're going to increase one attribute. So that's why I want to like switch these to get a starting set point so I could figure out where that other one comes in. And yeah, it's like the max modifier is 16, and we have some pretty good numbers here, but ultimately a couple of things. Number one, even at a 16, which is the highest for the attribute score, it's only going to give me +3. And then also skills work a little bit different in this game in that a skill will give you +1 on something if it applies. It'll give you like +1 to the upper limit of your roll that you're going to roll under. It's a roll under, D20 roll under. I should have said that. But it also, though, will give you, in certain circumstances, if a skill check has an asterisk next to it, like if it said apothecary asterisk in parentheses, that means you can only check it if you have the apothecary skill. Whereas, like, if it just said apothecary and you didn't have that skill, you could still test it, but with like no +1. But if you have the right skill, then that's going to allow you to do things that a person without that would not. And that's why I'm glad that I was able to add stealth, traps and locks, and a apothecary, because I just feel like those are things that without those, that would be like if you had a group of 4 adventurers, you'd want somebody with each of those. All right. Okay. And unique features. All right, just to even everything out here, I'm going to add my +1 ability points to willpower and charisma. Put those at 10 because if I add them to anything else, it's going to cause me to recalculate a bunch of stuff. So I didn't need to unpause for that. Okay, so unique features is actually really cool, and I'm kind of sad that I must have not realized this, that there's a good amount of options here, and some of these are really fun and some of these are really funny. And most of them have 2 or 3 levels because you have like level 3, I think 3, 5 or 6 and 9 you advance these features. And essentially um they are just something that is both narratively and mechanically significant, not something that you're going to use all the time, with some exception. There's one that's like a signature weapon, or like weapon proficiency. But a lot of these, for instance, there's one that you have a cursed bloodline. And so you get the spell Strange Joining, where you like suddenly telepathically unite with all sentient creatures within such and such miles of you or something like that. And I'm sure I just picked one of these. And if you wanted to pick one of these, I think there is a lot of cool ones here. Just because I'm like that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use um, 2 of the deck of signs cards. And with what it says on there, I'm going to either find one of these unique features that sounds like it'll fit there, and I can sort of craft it to whatever narrative I create with the card, or I'll create my own. And if you were doing this and you had some time, well, I don't know why you wouldn't have time. I guess if somebody's like, "Hurry up, we're jumping." You're base jumping, and you and your buddies are trying to create a character before you jump off the Eiffel Tower. I get it, but otherwise, you should probably try to think of at least what like levels 1 and 2 of this would look like if you do create your own. But I think it's a worthwhile investment. This is something where it's not going to make or break your character, and it has an opportunity to make your character a person of fate. You know, it's something that Simon Belmont is a Belmont, and he's cursed because of that in Castlevania, right? And his whole world revolves around that, for better or worse. And that's just something that without that, it wouldn't be the game that it is. And so let's see what we get here. I'm gonna all right, let's see if we can randomly choose here the way they did in the 17th century. I think this is gonna get stuck. If it does, I'll choose the card that gets stuck. Come on. Keep going. Ah, all right, it's broken. Did any Okay. Well, I don't know. I feel like, come on, I need the right one. Now this is how they did it. Here we go. All right. Let me think about this one for a second. Okay. I think I have it. I'll have to see how this works, because it could be really cool or it could be extremely silly and bizarre. But um, my input was Faye playing capricious misleading. And so, like, Fae, in this game, like elves are Fae. They are forest or nature connected elemental creatures, and there's lots of different types. They're not just like Tinkerbells. For instance, this is a Fey creeper, which is a living tree. And so I think, and this can be something that I could figure out the story of more. Um, I think that somewhere in my bloodline, because I was very taken by this idea as I was talking about it, somebody made some sort of um, bet, or they became a plaything of um, two of the Fae, or some group of the Fae. And essentially, um, they are, uh, I guess, betting on my character. Like they have some sort of like lifelong competition. And they've identified me like, oh, this is one that's a descendant of this. So we can have fun and place bets, like capricious, misleading. And they might say, oh, yeah, we're here to help. Or like, oh, we're just playing. But obviously it doesn't feel like play to me. And so I think, and it's really the thing that puzzles me a little bit is when to trigger this. But I think when I have all, uh, like if I roll all in concert, so 3 yeses and a sun, or if I roll 3 no's, um, and a skull, which I think that should be rare enough. These two Fae appear, and what I think is, um, if it's all if it's all yes, then um, I get to roll a d66 or a d100, sorry, and I can. So say I roll a 42. If it's all yes, then 42 is sure striking. Once every 1d4 days, turn a missed attack roll or ordinary successful hit into a critical hit. This is a discrete power. So basically, it would give me 1 instance of that. And I can choose. If I roll all no's with a skull, I cannot choose whether or not to do the spell. And I have to like roll the, because I'm not a magic user. So this magic is just being like suddenly channeled through me. And some of these I think might be helpful. Some of these are going to be horrible for me. And some of these are going to make no sense. Like there's some of them that it just will like Fey Reverie. You enter an elf trance. So like I could be in the middle of combat and I'll just have to go to sleep, I guess, for 6 hours. But I want to see how, like speaker of tongues. And I'm thinking if I roll all yes with a sun, then it's same thing. I still roll a D100, but the difference is I can choose whether or not to do the spell. And on level 1, I can go 1 up or 1 down from the one I get. And I can do on level 2, 2 up and 2 down. Level 3, 3 up and 3 down. And maybe on level 3 too, I can, if I roll like all bad, I still have to cast a spell. Or sorry, I still like it is whatever it is, but I can choose not to cast it. I don't know. I would work it out. Like I said, I'm not gonna get there during this session, but it's just the idea of sort of like being toyed with powers beyond myself that can lead to some interesting narrative as well as mechanical stuff. So I guess to figure out what this unique feature is called, I would say like plaything of the forest Fae. Yeah. Plaything of the forest. Plaything of the forest people. And I would probably also, again, depending, I might not roll that for 3 sessions in a row. I might roll it 4 times, but I think it would only be like once per scene or like shift of time. I wouldn't just keep doing that if it happened over and over again. Because some of these spells can be quite powerful, right? And then also, there's going to be times where I'm not in combat And what, like a beam of plasma is just going to shoot out of me? We'll see how this goes. All right, so to review, we rolled 1d12. 1 to 9 in that is a human. Background was swineherd, and your background is going to give you +1 attribute, which ours was perception, animal lore as a skill, and a burly pig as a dog. And I do have right here Bertram's info here. Pretty cool. Now this is from the like bestiary, so I kept the like reaction stuff at the bottom here just in case it comes in handy, like if he's being a bit grumpy or something like that. But this will be quite a helpful friend here. I'm very happy with this. I always love a dog or a dog adjacent companion during solo play. You need a friend. All right, then we did roll the 3d6 7 times and allocated those in order. We pushed dexterity up to 15 to get our one attributed 15. And that gives us a modifier of +2 with the spread of 7 and 20 for our great success and total failure. I did swap constitution and perception because perception is a key attribute of the ranger, which will work well for the longbow. However, not quite yet because it's like right on the precipice of being a +2 modifier. And if you look down at the 2 weapons that I have here, the longbow and the short sword, right under that on my character sheet, you could see that the range very far, and I have a +3 hit with the longbow. And that is because my attack bonus is connected to my player character's level. All right. And so for level 1 and 2, it is +1. And then it goes up to +2 for level 3. And that is going to be added to, it'll be plus perception, the perception modifier, plus attack bonus for your ranged hit, and then range hit modifier, and then your attack bonus plus your strength modifier for any melee weapons. And so you can see they're both going to be +2 for my attack bonus, and then +1 for the strength mod, +1 for the perception mod. So they're both at +3. And we'll talk about combat, but you can see that really the weapon is not going to determine that hit column unless I guess there could be something about the weapon that affects that. But for the most part, like the basic weapons you're going to start with, the damage is going to be determined by the weapon, as well as what sort of like additional power you get or like damage you deliver from rolling a nat 19. And you could see for the short sword, there's that asterisk right there. And that is because the nat 19, depending on the weapon, as well as other skills and stuff that you have, the most common thing that will do is give you the option for like this stronger hit for more damage. But some weapons will also give you additional options of things you can do. Like for here, the short sword can give you the option to disarm the enemy. It also causes blade trauma. And there are lots of different traumas, depending on the weapon, that are administered whenever you sort of crit, like with the nat 19 with that weapon. And again, we'll go over all of that during combat, as well as like the ammo roll for the longbow. Okay. So choosing our class, we have the ranger. We fell into that. I don't think I've ever played a ranger before. Pretty cool. And I should say, like, I don't know if this is the normal ranger in most games because, as I said, I don't remember much from the review I did so long ago. But one thing I do remember saying is I think this is the only game where I would actually play a bard, because the bard in this game is just not messing around. Imagine that. It's like, what do you want to hear? It's like, well, what are my options? I could do any song by Testament, or I could do Only for the Weak by In Flames. All right, then our starting luck is 11. Technically, it should probably be 12 because if we start at level 3, it doesn't matter. 11 is fine. And 2 rerolls if we're a human, like we said. Also, dark and dangerous magic is at 1. I'll talk about that a little bit. I'm not much of a magic user, but I think it's worth explaining because it is a core feature of the game. So your luck is a kind of floating stat that is used to resist negative effects, usually from like poison or something like that, as well as to serve as a rollable stat for things that don't fit neatly in the other categories. For things that are related to your character somehow, they're not like completely non-participants in whatever this thing happening is, but it's just like if they move out of the way at just the right time, it's because they have a horseshoe up their ass, because that's just how they are. Think of it as like the slush fund stat that can be rolled when it just feels like it's the moment to do it. And it behaves differently than the other stats. Um, Generally, you will use it. Um, I think it would be something in group play that would be sort of negotiated between you and the GM. When you succeed at it, you drop it by 1. When you fail at your luck roll, so if I rolled a 13 and rolled over 11, it doesn't change your luck then. But if I were to succeed at it, if I rolled a 9, then my luck would go down to 10, and luck would not recharge. It recharges +1 every time you get a long rest. And as it says in the book, it's just not a good idea to rely on luck long term. It's kind of to get you through early game without too many like disasters. Um, it also is going to be used for 3 things specifically that, again, we'll talk about in combat, but that would be to pull off a major exploit in other games called a stunt, um, a like flee, I think it's called retreat, and rescue. Um, but it can be used with other things as appropriate. I don't use it very often. I just don't think to use it. I'm more likely to use a reroll, and humans do have starting 2 rerolls. And remember when I said that attributes give you like just a +1? Well, they also allow you to do a couple of different things if you look on the right here. So remember it said that perception was like our key attribute. So we can use a reroll to reroll an attribute check using that. If it's related to their key attribute, or maybe something specific about their background, or if there's an ability that a character does based on their background. You can also reroll luck rolls with it. So that's another advantage of using a luck roll, is a kind of like universal option to use one of your rerolls on death saves. and during a short rest to do like your recovery check, you can do it again. But you can only re-roll once, um, and you can like per re-roll usage and per action. Like if you're on level 7, you get 5 re-rolls. You can't just keep re-rolling the same thing. Um, and this is again kind of a slush fund. I like it. I almost feel like it's too much, but I think it's sort of a naive belief of that. It's just me as like the reader rather than the game player. Is it's hard for me to keep in my head like the difference between luck and rerolls and what sort of decisions made it to like come to the conclusion that yes, both we should have both of these. But I'm sure that there is some sort of schematic to that, that if I were to use the luck roll more, it's just for me, I just have not found a lot of things that um, don't fit an attribute. And if I find an attribute, I hear like the Mario Brothers coin sound in my head and I go, yes, that's exactly the right attribute. And even the saves where it talks about like ingesting poison, to me that feels like constitution or willpower or maybe even perception to like see that you're drinking something poison. So I just don't get it, but I also don't really get luck in Fallout, which is, it's a whole damn stat in the special loadout, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, I think there's some flexibility there. And I think really, for me, a positive of both luck and rerolls is when you just utterly feel doomed in a situation and then you go, oh, wait, I can use rerolls or luck. Oh, great. And then you fail the rolls anyways and die. But for a moment, you feel happy before you remember. You just remember how everything. Let's just move on. Oh, I should add, as far as I understand it, rerolls are like re-upped by your level increasing. So that when you hit level uh 4, you now get 4 rerolls. Level 5, 4 rerolls again. Level 6, 4 rerolls. I mean, I don't think they're like carryover minutes. I think you're like recharge back up to full, and full would be 4 for each of those levels. I might be wrong, but I can't really find anything else on it. To the left here, you also see relevant versus required, and that is what I was talking about earlier. When a skill is required, it'll have an asterisk next to it, and it's like if you don't have that skill, you can't do it. Very similar to some of the like Coriolis or other Year Zero systems. There are some advanced skills that you have to have those skills to do the thing. And then apparently Insight was removed. For those who played Low Fantasy Gaming, which was the forerunner to this, was that in that game, or was it like in an earlier version of Tales of Argosa? Who knows? Maybe you do. I just want to mention this as well for those of you that your brain is sort of like a gelatinous mold and doesn't work very well like mine. If you're ever in character creation and you can't find something and you're like, where the hell is this? I can't figure this out. Just know that several pieces of the character creation process are tucked away in your individual class. All right. And so make sure you check that before you like go scouring the whole book looking for something. Because you're going to get your starting gear here, you're going to get your weapons, your skill loadout, your levels, especially if you do the lone wolf thing. And so just remember that, because I think sometimes character creation is like pages and pages long, and the character creation in TOA is like 2 pages because you're going to be customizing it to your class. And then also, one thing that consistently confuses me, no matter how experienced I get, is it says that when you're leveling up, you're going to get more hit points and you can add skills and you're going to get new stuff. And I kept looking at this earlier. and I fell into the trap again where I was like, AB, I thought that's action attack bonus, but maybe it means attribute because I thought that I get an additional attribute point. And how do I increase my HP? It doesn't say anything on here about my HP. Right. So this is attack bonus. And also, again, as far as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think your attack bonus is increased by this amount each time. I think at the start of the game, your attack bonus is +1. When you get to level 3, it goes to +2. And then it is augmented by your strength modifier for melee and your perception modifier for ranged. And then your the +1 to any attribute up to a max of 16 is just every time you level up. And then your hit points, it's tucked in there. Like your hit points are equal to your constitution plus your level times 2. So like when your level levels, you automatically level your HP level. All right, Lavelle. All right, and then the last thing from number 5 here is as in many games, if you're a Magic user, it's like you're playing a whole other game along with everybody else. And so in this one, we have Deep Dork Magic. Oops, I meant Dark and Dangerous Magic. Anyways, depending on your level, you have a DDM die. So like level 1 to 3 would be a 1d8. Level 4 is a 1d10. At level 7, it's 1d12. And then for magic items, it's 1d20. You have to roll this die every time you cast a spell, invoke a blessing, unless you have a favor of the gods, or use a magical item. For a magical item, it's the lowest risk. But you are going to roll this die. And if you roll a natural 1, you still cast the spell, but then you have to roll on this D100 table that gives you temporary or permanent issues. For instance, you might get a third eye. It might be a fish eye. It might be on your palm. It might be for like a week or forever. You're just going to have to put antibiotics on it or something. Anyways, that cast, no matter what, well, not no matter what, if you don't roll a 1, you add 1 to your DDM level, okay? And then if you roll a 1 or 2 with your die when you cast magic, you get this negative effect. And if you don't do it again, you add another 1. And now the next time you do magic, you'll get one of these DDM effects if you roll a 1, 2, or 3. And again, when your level goes up, you're going to have a bigger die to roll with this, so you're going to have less chance of this happening. But it keeps going up for each successful magic usage that you have until this thing happens, and then it resets. Now you might be saying, wow, that's like that's going to happen. That's not like a 1d100 roll, right? Yeah, so that's why it's dark and dangerous. Magic in this game is rare, and it is powerful, and it is not to be messed with. And so if you're going to cast a spell, you need to make sure that it's worth it. Now not all of the dark and dangerous magic effects are permanent. Not all of them. Some of them are just aesthetic, but if you suddenly have tusks, you're still going to have a bad time. I should also mention that those of you who are cowards or named Gary, there's also another table on the website. No, Gary's are all right. If your name is if your name's Rob, yeah, you're gonna want to hear this, Rob's. There's a perilous magic table on the Pickpocket Press website, and if your name is like not a name, if your name is like Box, like you get Gwyneth Paltrow's kid was like Apple. If you're Apple or whatever, I have another D100 table of like it's not perilous, it's pathetic. Like you cast a spell and then just everybody laughs at you. You know, I'm sorry. I want to apologize, but it is true. So those of you named like Tummy or Robot, I know this is just one more thing, but it's how it goes, man. And this does not apply to Dudleys. All right, moving on. Initiative, average of dex and intelligence, and you always round down. HP, we get a little extra for being a lone wolf. I did modify it down to 37 because I swapped my constitution and perception. Death save is 10 plus your con mod, which my con mod is nothing. And so your death save is always going to be at least 10, and that's what mine is. But there is also some extra like succor. Oh, I hate that. If that's your name, there is also some easing of that for solo play, and I'll go to that page after this. And then talked about skills, talked about class abilities, battle gear. I have 7 slots, so you take your strength, halve it, and round down. So my strength is 14, so there's no rounding, it's 7. But just say that your strength was 15. Whatever is remaining in your strength, so like 8, would be how much space you have for pack gear. But since mine was 14, it's an even split. Your AC, and we'll talk about how to use that when we talk about combat. Talked about attack bonus. Your languages, I have none. And if you're -2 or -3, you're illiterate, otherwise known as -2 or less. But there's no other real like directives regarding language. So I'm just going to assume, like in other OSR games, that the languages are the other like races. So Scorn, Elf, Dwarf, Canadians. It's just the language. You can, I guess, if you're +3, you could speak 3 other languages. And then your age, 1d20 plus 16. I added 4 because I like being at the prime of my life. Anyways, also, if you're humans, this is this is fun. Here's a little bonus for those of you out there who are human. You could also be old, which I do love playing an older character, but I didn't feel like adjusting my strength and constitution and intelligence and will at this point in my character creation. And then you name your adventurer. You can have a physical trait. Yeah, I should actually. What's my physical trait? Oh man, I went through the NPC deck. I love this. I love both of these actually. Giver of winks and allergies. I hate winks that I don't get. So actually I'm just gonna say that my guy he's pretty tough, he's pretty brutal, but his allergies are also just terrible this time of year. So that won't that won't be hard to imagine. You feel me? And I'm just gonna roll on the party bond table a D66 here to see maybe if I could figure out where me and Bert met. 34. Okay, oh, there we go. All right, let's see what it says. Now, this isn't made for animals, but maybe we can make it make sense. This is amazing. Betrayed by an employer. Like, Bertram and I both have the same grievance against an employer. You know what? I think When it comes to this, I have this strong impulse to make it a joke, right? That they offered room and board at some place, but then turned out that board was a charcuterie board, and Bert was the main attraction, or that we got there and the place was a pigsty, or that it wasn't a pigsty. And I specifically said, I need a pigsty for Bert to stay in. But I'm actually going to pull that impulse back to ground this a little bit more. And I'm actually going to use the deck of signs to figure out what happened that we were both betrayed by the same employer. And to do that, I'm also going to use this perchance.org generator that I hope was made by Pickpocket Press. So I'm doing an either or service here. Either I'm showing you a nice way to read the signs, or I'm showing Pickpocket Press its first step of a cease and desist order. But either way, we're helping humanity. And let's read the signs. What the hell? There we go. Rival clashing, respect tense, wind howling, fleeting, erratic. I was about to say this. All right. So, um, rival clashing, I definitely think that's significant. Wind howling, we have a boat, we have day and night, respect tense, fleeting, and erratic. So, not able to be trusted. All right, I'm going to sort of ground this in something more earnest because I do tend to like sort of make it silly for the video, but I do when I play on my own, I want it to be grounded in something real. And let me say something real. And you might not believe me when I say this, but one of the best, most heartfelt movies that I have watched that was so meaningful to me was the movie Pig with Nicolas Cage. And if you have seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, you'll laugh and mock until you see it yourself. But in that movie, he has a truffle pig. So it's like these pigs are the best animal to find these truffles that are sold at these enormous prices to restaurants. In the movie, this is like a very cutthroat underground trade. I'm not sure how real that is, but I do know that it is very, very expensive. Truffle is very expensive. And so we'll say that I worked as a truffle forager and that a rival somehow sent me a tip that was a bad tip. It sent me into either roiling waters or sent me somewhere that I ended up being boarded by pirates, or maybe something that was needed with the sails of the ship or the oars were sabotaged. But whatever it is, that tension, this relationship that could be respectful, instead it ended with Bert and I being lost at sea. And so now our job, maybe we were shipwrecked, and so now it's a revenge story. He tried to kill us, and even though howling definitely is related to wind, we'll say that he has a truffle dog, and dogs are the industry standard. But old Bert, his nose, his snout, much better at finding truffles. I actually kind of love that. I'm going to pause and look at how cutthroat the truffle trade actually is. It will be about an hour of Wikipedia reading for me, but only about a split second for you. And holy crap, this is amazing. This article from italisegreta.com, it says that there is like a secret code among truffle hunters in Italy that they never say where their truffle forage spots are to outsiders, and that there's sometimes rising tension in the community and people try to poison each other's truffle dogs. Gosh. When we first started hearing about these truffle hunters, it was in whispers. You see, guys, you think we're just playing a game here, but we're learning about life, real stuff that a high percentage of us are going to experience. Truffle hunting. Look at this last paragraph here. You have no wife, no children, he's saying to the truffle hunter. You're the best truffle hunter. Could you tell me your secret spots? Worry about yourself and your family. Look at this awful distributor. You have no wife and kids. If something happens to you, you're not. What a jerk. Oh my gosh, he died. No, the guy died. The subject of this article. Oh man, sorry. Shouts out Aurelio. And now that statement is even more poignant. Guy like hexed him. This video is dedicated to Aurelio the Truffle Hunter. Long may he truff. All right, so we can start here with properties in Nat 19. So here, most weapons have some additional properties as noted in their descriptions, and all cause a bonus effect on a 1d20 roll of 19, known as a Nat 19 effect. In most instances, this will be a roll on the appropriate trauma table, and this is part of the GM screen that I did sort of do a little surgery on, just because it's something that I'm gonna have to look in the book for things anyway, and so this one is just like a bit too much real estate, but nevertheless, it is really good and really easy to use, and it's a 1d12 roll, and you could see based on the weapon what sort of trauma it's going to be: blade trauma, blast, blunt, missile, toxin. And so you could roll on that, or it says in some cases the attacker may choose a fixed effect in lieu of the trauma table roll marked with an asterisk in the weapons table. I should say, maybe I'm missing something, but that is a little bit inconsistent, because the way I read that sentence is, in some cases the attacker may choose a fixed effect in lieu of the trauma table roll marked with an asterisk. So it's saying whenever it's marked with an asterisk, that's when you may choose a fixed effect. Or maybe it's like an eats, shoots, and leaves problem, where it's like the asterisk, the parenthetical is referring to just trauma table rolls in general. But for instance, this one, the Lance, is a great example of one of these choose your own trauma venture. And so the property of it on a Nat 19 is impale, push, or prone. Must be mounted, double damage on a charge. On a Nat 19, knock prone, comma, impale, which is blade trauma number 3. So target is impaled, auto weapon damage at the start of their turn. Unimpaling requires a strength contest or a will check if unopposed, which is pretty awesome. Or push a short distance. So to me, that would be like a choice one. And then if you look at the short sword, that has the asterisk, like it said, and it says 1d12 asterisk blade trauma. So it says then asterisk Nat 19 alternative disarm. And so I also never fully know. And again, if any of you clarify, I just sort of deal with this the way I deal with it. But I never know if it's like 1d12 damage, blade, or you can disarm, or if the or goes to blade trauma. So which one do you always do? Well, I do the choice where the asterisk is. So if I'm gonna swap out disarm, then I will not do the 1d12 damage. I will do just the blade trauma, and I'll do actually 1d6, which I guess is like a little solo privilege thing here, because I want to do some damage for disarming somebody, even if it's just like, ow, ow, my hand, you hit my hand. Okay, then ammunition rolls. So we saw that for our longbow, it had ammo 1. Unless the GM prefers the ammo to be tracked, if a weapon using arrows, bolts, etc. is fired during combat after the battle, there's a 1 in 6 chance. This chance, and then the adventurer only has enough ammo left for one more fight. So that's kind of cool. I like how that goes. But just like the dark and dangerous, although without the severe effects, that number rises by 1. All right. So if the ammo is 1, all right, then that is sort of your starting level. So it's actually good for your ammo to be 1, because if your ammo is 2, then you have to roll a 1d6, and if you roll a 1 or 2, then you're like at your last of your ammo. You can only use it for one more combat. I really like that. I think that the concern, I guess, might be is that you lose the urgency of running out of ammo during combat. There's just, if there's enough combat in a game, you just don't need that as well. So it's better to be like, oh, I've got to go find ammo somewhere as a sort of urgent need for your exploration rather than in combat itself. And like in combat, it's just whip, 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 you go for it. And so I think that's good. Those are two easy ways to do that. There is also you could do like the step down method, which I think results in if you use like a 1d20, it could be a lot of ammo. And that's the thing where from like Forbidden Lands, where you would roll if you have a 1d20 starting ammo, you'd roll this. Whenever you get a 1 or 2, then you'd step that down to a 1d12. When you get a 1 or 2 on that, you step it down to a 1d8, 6, etc. But I think this is an equally valid alternative here. And to me, it is a bit cleaner because you're not worrying about like a bunch of different dice and which one is going to which weapon. It's just a 1d6 chance, and then you increase it by 1 each time after each combat. And then there is this on like special metals, which is pretty cool. You can get your weapon, just like any weapon here, could be made from a special metal, and that will have different effects. Cold iron, for example, which is 500 silver pieces, bypasses resistances of demons and the undead. So cool. The weapon selection is great, and it will have the range, which is mostly abstracted, but there is rules in the back of the book to be more specific with ranges. And then all of the ranged weapons have missile trauma other than a sling, which has blunt trauma. Armor is just going to add 1, 3, or 5 to your armor class. And my fella has leather armor, as I imagine most start with, and that is +1 AC with no penalties. All right. Shields also have 1 AC. Obviously, you cannot use that with two-handed weapons, and it negates a single directional attack against them. So it is not going to protect against a condition. It says the shield is destroyed in the process. And you could do that. It says once per adventure, which I guess is like a session, maybe. It says a PC may use a shield to negate a single directional. You know what it might be? It might be that once an adventure for this shield here, because once you do that, either it provides 1 AC or once the shield can just bust, and then you negate all the damage. It negates the hit or damage. The shield is destroyed. Magical and adamantine shields are not destroyed, but cannot be used again in this manner until repaired. And they continue to provide their bonus. So we do have repairing, and I do want to just take a brief aside before we get into the mechanics of combat proper, and this really will be brief, is that repairing is but one thing that you can do in downtime. And I think downtime is a huge strength of this game. It has so many fun options. You can buy property. And somehow, you know what is really great is that somehow the downtime options seem like a whole lot of fun stuff, but they're not like 80 pages long. I always notice that. I'm like, all right, let's do some downtime activities. And then it's like, oh, okay. Wow. Whoa. Oh my gosh. I've got to pay rent. Holy cow. I've got to register for a driver's license. But this has like gambling, carousing, pets, potion brewing, research, recovery, rumors, scroll inscribing. And it's just like everything pretty straightforward, pretty clear, which is overall just a strength of this book. I mean, it's just so approachable. There's nowhere where you go, oh my gosh, I'll come back to that once I'm smarter and have had my morning orange juice. Don't talk to me until I've had my orange juice without pulp, you monsters. All right, so combat. All right, so just starting at the top, you encounter an enemy or what could be an enemy. You would roll a 1d12 to see their reaction. Lower is worse, like hostile, opposed, confrontational, all the way up to 11 or 12. Affable, attracted, or very helpful. And then you would also roll that with the activity die. So you'd roll this together, and it would give us a 2 and a men's bathroom sign 3 times. So that is socializing. So this is very interesting. So we have a hostile group who's socializing. So this is just like a group of bullies, right? It's like Kuno from Disco Elysium. Kuno don't care. I've never hated a character so much. So conversing, sporting activity, trading, gambling, teaching, child rearing, intimate relations, and socializing. You have to keep your kid healthy. He needs calcium. Yeah, so gambling, maybe they're, throwing, playing craps up against a building. They're up to no good. And maybe they're young ruffians who are like, oh, what you doing there, friend? Funny you came down here, Sally, huh? And I just cast, you know, rip fate, and I like make all of them, I curse their lives to be horrible. But if it's other creatures, not humans, calls, howls, or other vocalizations, play, fighting, mating, rituals, teaching. So again, that would have to be sort of modified by this. I would say you probably want to have this to be your lead um, charge energy form of what this is, and then if you want more information, I would mold your activity die around that. Almost everything can be conformed to something that's roughly appropriate. You could use obviously the deck of signs and of course the NPC deck to determine exactly what is going on. If it's a type of group of people that you want to know about, if they're like red shirt / stormtrooper types, other than Finn, because apparently you can also just realize you're not a good person. Anyways, um, I also want to say that the reaction rolls, uh, if it is a sort of monster type or even a human, there's a listing for humans. Something that's cool besides this awesome, easy to use table of custom monster creation is that um, almost all of them, if not all of the entries, have their own reaction table. So that's really cool. So like the bear is hostile at 2 to 3, at 9 to 12 it's interested, and I don't I nothing there's nothing that will be worse than a bear being interested in you, just sort of being like, what do we have here? So yeah, that is a kind of generalized reaction table. This might be especially good if you don't know what type of person it is, if you don't know what exactly the creature is yet, or in general, it's not that meaningful of a reaction. This is a really good system here. Okay. Um, and by the way, I just want to draw 5 cards here to see my, well, I don't even have to deal more to know which one is going to be the rival. Both of these individuals look like they're up to no good. And Malleus or Barbulo. I like Malleus. Barbulo is the jerk who betrayed or gave us the bad intel or whatever that left us stranded. And so let's see here. Um, yeah, so we'll just use Fur Trapper and just sort of like switch the first letters almost so that it's instead of Trapper, it's Fur Trapper Truffle Reaper. Great. And oh, this is great. He's a close talker. That is, I've got a really nice rumor for you. Um, and that he is overconfident. And also, I don't want to use that one. Oh, a yellow lotus dealer. That's interesting. So, that's great. So that's a way to construct. I already know what I want this NPC to be about. Uh, Normally, if you're just meeting someone and don't have any context, better to just kind of deal out your cards like that. But I think that this is a great creation here. And in fact, I'm going to pause to screenshot that. So that's actually perfect too with this yellow lotus powder. If you look in the top right, produces 2-hour euphoria and boosts social temperament, +2 bonus on social checks, may spend a reroll. Okay, I think I know what drug this is supposed to be. Side effects include disinhibition, elevated heart rate, and in long time users, yellowing eyeballs. Okay, and each use has a 20% chance of addiction, and there's rules for that. Not necessarily too interested in that right now as the object, but the fact that he's a yellow lotus dealer, this is probably means that he is in over his head, right? Because he's a truffle dealer, but he wants to make the real money, and so he's using his truffle spot to fund his operation, and he needs to remove the competition here. I love it. Okay, so now initiative. You do have your initiative stat, and it's going to be, as you can see, it's your dexterity plus your intelligence, divided by 2, rounded down. And so for us, that would give us 26 divided by 2 is a 13, which will give us +1. I like rolling under initiative, and in fact, I think too many games have like dispensed with just a pure roll for initiative. So for solo play, it would obviously just be you. You'd roll 1d20, aiming for equal or under. The great success doesn't feel like a great success here. So it says, obviously, if you're equal or under your initiative, you're going to go before the enemy, or if not, enemy goes first. And then on a great success, the PCs also act before any bosses or heavies. But like, wouldn't that also be included in the original initiative? Or if there's a boss or heavy, does that increase the initiative roll or like put it at disadvantage? I don't know. I feel like I should get a free hit, or that I should have an extra action in the turn if I hit a great success. And also, there's no total failure modifier here. But maybe I just, as I'm wont to do, maybe just haven't read carefully enough some other area. But it looks to me like there is no total failure, and I think that it's already accounted for. It doesn't matter if there's an elite enemy or a boss. Um, but then again, enemies in the bestiary don't have initiative listed, but initiative is derived. But you would assume if it was something that was needing to be used regularly, that you wouldn't leave it to the player or GM to do like a derived stat every time. So it doesn't look like there is any effect that which enemy it is has on initiative. So maybe this is sort of the attempt to abstract a sense of balance about that. It's like, oh, well, if you're fighting a boss or like an elite enemy, then they're probably going to be faster. And so you'll need a great success to act before them. But again, that makes the great success like not a bonus. It makes it it makes it so that not achieving that is not a punishment, perhaps, but I might say it's a detriment. So if you're new to the game, new to gaming, just roll against your initiative. If you roll under it, you go first. If you do a great success, maybe you could change your weapon or something like that. Take a freebie action. Interesting little tidbit on the bottom here in this box here is that you can delay your turn. Again, referencing a free league property like in Dragonbane, you can switch your initiative to be move your card to the end of the line. You can also ready an action to perform some sort of response when triggered, not on your turn. Usually that would be by an enemy. I guess sort of you could think of like Overwatch type of position, or it can be by a fellow combatant, whatever it might be. And then if you ever have anything that would seem to occur simultaneously, like it's hard to figure out the order of operations, you can do an initiative check to determine that. And even if it involves an enemy, even though they don't have it listed, just remember it's derived. You can always use math. And by math, I mean a calculator. Top of the right column, most combatants will not fight to the death. And so making morale checks, if you look at the turn order listing back in the left column here, that should be happening whenever a leader is killed or incapacitated, or a heavy and elite, when half of the group are killed or incapacitated, or when there's sorcery that would just make people go, what? That's usually the test. And I like that you have an option here to do a fatality, especially if you're a cruel person. I mean, you or your player character, either one could be cruel, and they're trying to flee for their lives, and rather than just letting them keep that scrap of dignity in their pulse, you just slay them. It's an option, and it's nice to have that option. Now, should you slay defenseless enemies or NPCs, they will not have a chance to ever do this again, but you will be able to move, specifically take one move each turn, and you can spend an action to dash or take a second move. Normal speed, again, these are abstracted ranges per like the core rules. You can move into a new range band. And the range bands are melee is hand to hand, that's like 5 feet. Close is you're in the current room. Far is in you're the next room over. If you'd have to like think if you're far, would you have to scream at somebody in the other room to tell them they have a phone call? And then very far is defined as beyond far, so greater than 60 feet. That is the length of the longbow, for example. And in group play, the GM will tell you how many moves it is to reach a target. I would say since you're looking at like a movement being from one band to the next being about 30 feet. You could think of it like, um, uh, I would say roll a 1d4, and for each one over one, so two, three, or four, add another range band onto it. So if I rolled a 4, I would go from 60 to 90 to 120 if I rolled a 4. That's just one idea of how to do it if you're solo playing, but whatever gives you your yucks. Um, and yes, a move cannot be broken up with an action. And so the move has to complete before you do anything. And you always want to just think of context wise. You don't even have to like too closely memorize what's going to do this, but anything that makes movement difficult, rough terrain, slime, you see an X, whatever is going to slow you down, you just want to apply that either in the distance or how many, if the movement can be made, or perhaps even do a check before the movement with like dexterity or perception. I don't know if it's sticky. Are you able to perceive that it's sticky on the floor? You have the option to dash and hit, which would be the charge. And you may say, why wouldn't I just charge every time? Well, it gets better. You get a +2 bonus. And that includes if you uh, have an extra attack, if your dice explodes, which is if you roll the top value, you get to roll it once more. You get this +2, but then you're at a disadvantage. And enemies will get +2 to attack you if you've charged. And obviously, it uses both the movement and the action, just like a dash. But yeah, you're kind of paying. You're getting a hamburger today, and then not so gladly paying tomorrow. Intercept. I can't imagine using that in the rest of my whole life. But I guess if you wanted to do this, if you meet all these requirements, that you are just standing there, you aren't doing anything, you haven't moved, you can try an initiative check to intercept. I would say that you would. I think of this as the moment in a hockey movie when the player sees just right, like what's unfolding, and it's all going to go in slow motion. But instead of winning the big game here at the end of this slow motion clip, it's just going to be you saying, "Excuse me, where'd you think you're going?" And then axe to the face de brute. Yes, and if a someone tries to move out of active engaged attack, so you're in melee, you've established melee combat with somebody, and then they move out of that range, there's a free attack. Standing up takes, usually I would just have it cost a player's move, but you can do this luck save. You're gonna potentially spend a luck point. Um, and I guess if you have acrobatics as a skill, you can use Dex for uh, Dex alone for that. Or maybe I see. Yeah, to use Dex alone, you would need the acrobatics skill so that you're not using up luck. And I like this next thing because it represents the lowest level of description you can give. Uh, you saw the person who robbed the museum. What did they look like? Well, sir, they were a man-sized character. And if a man-sized character blocks a melee area, enemies can't move through the space without removing the defender. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like their token takes up that spot on the map. Um, And there's some other rules here that, if you're interested, you can review. Things like falling, chases. There's a way to do a montage in this game, which is just kind of a series of checks. And I would say the one you need to know, though, is if you want to run, um, you should, obviously, you don't have a GM that tell you what to do, but you should have an idea of how you would make a retreat. And then a luck check would be called for. Now, with a group luck check, I assume that that means that everybody is putting their luck on the line. But usually, and this is something that I think people maybe have differences of opinion on whether or not this is a thing they would like to do, is when you have group checks, when you're playing this as a group, you can often point like a designee, a representative check, it's called in this game. So I don't know if everybody would lose luck on success, but you sure will if you're a solo player. I like this, though. The PCs flee with incapacitated allies over their shoulders. Uh, yeah, so if you're playing solo, you have to lift yourself over your shoulder. Think about that. And then you could, if the escape is not down a huge slide that leads to another realm, you'll maybe want to do a chase. I don't think I've ever done a chase mechanically in my little... Oh, no, I have. I did actually in Coriolis. I remember that. Afterwards, one of my players said, "What was that called?" And I was like, "Oh, that was a chase." And they said, "I don't want to do that again." And I said, "I understand. Nobody likes it. But you might with these chase events." No, this is actually kind of cool. You roll a d4 on this, you can get different... sorry, not a d4. What is it, 8? Just further evidence that I should think d4 I speak, because it's a d20. This video probably should be over now, huh? All right, let's persist. We're almost done. Common actions are what you expect. You attack, cast a spell, dodge, which I guess would be a prepared action, drink a potion, do a little line of yellow lotus, activate a magical amulet, sheathing, stowing a weapon, right, retrieving an item from the ground. So yeah, maybe if you get a great success on the initiative, you could do like a non-attack additional action. And then picking a lock or disarming a track usually takes more than one action, although I would say with the skill that I have, traps and locks, I would probably say, no, it doesn't. Is that I could just use that as a modifier for it, but maybe not. Man, that picture rules. Oh, cool. That guy looks like my Uncle Steve. Oh, it's not a human. All right. Now, how far in the weeds do you want to get? Let's get partially in the weeds. I think, again, use your spidey sense. If you're like, something about my situation feels like maybe my attack should be modified. There's something here that seems like I'm in just a better or a worse position, and I want to be a little bit precise about that. Great. You get outnumber enemies. This is not that uncommon. It might be like flanking rules. I don't know why, but outnumber enemies feels like easier to me. Maybe because with flanking, I'm always like, well, what flank? How many flanks do I have to be occupying here? A prone target, once again, if you're cruel and the guy's just laying on his face, passed out, you want to throw an axe into his skull, go for it. And it gives you as the attacker or defender. Range attacks, you're at a disadvantage if you shoot in melee. If you're targeting into melee, this is where you would have to re-roll or do a check to see if you miss. You'd have to check to see if you hit your buddy. But since I have the... which one is it called? Strong shot? Sure shot? Did I write it down? Steady shot. Sorry, it's at the bottom of my skills and abilities list here, which is frozen. Got it. There we go. All right, so the top of the right side of the page, this is where I finally want to go over to the solo modifications. Here's what it says at base. Damage deducted from... Yeah, okay. When an NPC is reduced to 0, they die. Bye. When a PC is reduced to 0 hit points, they are unconscious. See the injury and death section for more details. Admittedly, the name of that section is extremely metal. You're going to do a death save. You can roll on injuries and setbacks table here. And then you have all of these different traumas that I believe on the GM screen it had all of them, although maybe it didn't have burnt. Oh no, that's blunt. Missile, yep. Toxin, yep. Beautiful trees. Okay. All right. Lone Wolf rules. So for a solitary PC, some rule changes are required. The Lone Wolf is a hero among heroes, emulating the likes of Conan, Elric, etc. I would add Charlie Sheen's character from Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2. Lone Wolf PC starts at level 3. Again, hit points 25 plus your class bonus. And each time you take an action in combat, you make a bonus melee or ranged attack. So you're getting 2 attacks. Okay. Um, unlike in other games where it might give you like 2 initiative slots, this one you're just making 2 attacks. I kind of like having like a little bit of a spread between this because it allows me to make decisions based on what the enemies are doing. And yes, that definitely gives me an additional advantage, but also it just feels more real. Like I'm not just going frying pan on your head and then, who's next? You over there. Don't think I don't see you. Frying pan to your head. It kind of gives me more of a sense of like uh, a kinetic engagement. And then each time you suffer a melee or ranged hit, you're going to roll the fortune die. And if you get a sunshine, my only sunshine, you parry, evade, or negate the attack. And on a skull, you counter strike. Now that is interesting. I do wonder how often that would be to the point where I would want to say I should only give myself that if I roll a skull after I hit the sun. But I'm not going to look a gift skull in the face. I think we'll do that. On a nil blank result, there is no special effect. Got it. So yeah, this is a lot, but you have to remember you're trying in some way to achieve the same or near parity of having 4 player characters or even 3. So you have to give yourself more of a shot here. If you are reduced to 0 hit points, there's nobody that can sling you over their shoulder. And so unless they say, let's just kind of hit him again and again and again until he stops moving, you can make a death save after the combat. And if you live, you stabilize enough that whereas normally you'd need some sort of like first aid to even get you back on your feet, here you can stabilize. And by stabilize, I'm thinking you are returned to enough health that you can move toward something that can heal you more. You make 3 willpower checks on a rest, and so that gives you a chance to recover more HP. And now, if the PC is facing 5 or more enemies, halve. Why can't I ever just say it? The number. Interesting. I said that I really liked culinary role playing's modification to the advantage and disadvantage. I don't know how I feel about this one. They don't like this one. He says that it's so that if you have 10 enemies, um, you uh, would you wouldn't have 10, right? You'd have it something that would be more manageable. But what he says is he does it so that you never face more than 3 enemies at a time. And I think the reasoning is because it is supposed to emulate Elric and or Conan, and a lot of times Conan is just, running up steps, just sort of uh, helmet bashing like 50 dudes. And so I get that. I think I could be into that if it was like different waves. So if it was 9 combatants, I would fight 3 at a time. And it's not like they're in this isn't the War of Independence here where the Brits and the Americans are lining up and in firing lines. I think it's more to abstract the idea that like if there are 10 dudes who are trying to kill you, only 3 of them are going to be able to like get up and close to you. They're not going to stand shoulder to shoulder in a ring around you just hitting you like and it's like, "Robert, go ahead. John, now you hit him." It's gonna you're generally gonna be 3 people that you're gonna be facing. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know. I don't know how often. I think it depends as well on who the enemies are and what their sort of shape and size is. And then finally, during exploration, you're always going to be on lookout duty. Even when asleep, you sort of sense danger, sleep with one eye open, and that's yeah, there would be no other way to do it. However, unless you have a burly pig, that's right, buddy. I'm talking about you. Nope. Kleenex is not a treat. All right, so now let me try to simplify things, and I wish I had a full definitive instruction on this, but I must admit, I do have a little bit of uncertainty about this. So it says here that a critical hit occurs when the 1d20 attack roll is a natural 20. So we're talking about the attack roll, the initiating roll to see if you hit. And this causes max damage plus half level. Other characters cause max damage only. So this would be like hirelings, companions. Now, if we go way back to page 7 here, when we introduce exploding dice, it says an exploding die roll means that if you roll the maximum on the die, you roll it again and accumulate the result once per die only. And I think I maybe misspoke a little bit earlier because I think the quotes around exploding is to indicate when it says that a die is exploding, that means, and it is not just omni explosiono, right? Not all dice are exploding all the time. And I think this bears out correctly in that there are, especially for like the black powder weapons and a few others, a specific demarcation of a weapon having exploding dice. Okay. And so what this means is if you crit, even if your weapon says exploding, it does not apply to that, which I don't know. My thought on that is like, why not? So, like, if I roll a 1d6 of damage and I hit a 6 and then it's exploding die, I get to roll again and I hit another 6. I roll a 1d12 and I get a 12. I guess then you wouldn't want them to get 24. Okay. But I mean, it's a crit. A crit should be legit. If you agree, let me hear you in the comments. That's right. I'm talking to you, the one person still watching. All right. The last thing I'm going to cover simply because I have to socialize, do hygiene. I have to have a life. I have to try. But the last thing that I want to talk about is exploits. And this is something where you're really going to have to trust your solo player inner GM instinct because a lot of times exploits are going to be adjudicated by the GM. You're going to say, I want to do this cool sort of might be called a stunt, an action scene in Scarlet Heroes, there's a type of damage that's just like flurry damage. I forget what it's called, but it basically is to simulate like if you're in a fight scene, you're going to be a flurry of blows. You're going to be hitting people all over the place. Um, and that is to make it feel more vivid as an action scene, more of an actual scene rather than just a series of computations, which is what it can feel like in other games. And so everybody can do minor exploits as long as your hit you connect with your hit and cause damage. And these are not going to uh, directly increase damage to an enemy, especially not a minor exploit, but even a major exploit. It might hit more enemies. It might soften the target a bit through various means to make it easier to hit or to hit more often or to hit for greater crit. But the point of this is your character rules, they're awesome. And so these are ways to make them awesome. How much is too many minor or major exploits? Well, in terms of minor exploits, you're going to have to really trust your sense of things. If every single attack you're going, oh, this is a great time for a minor exploit, that if you were playing with a GM, that would not be allowed. But if you have something based on your scene picture and your mind, or just the natural, either physical objects or context sort of objects around you, and you say, wouldn't it be cool if, or you know what I could do, that's a time for you to use an exploit. And I think the paragraph under the box on the bottom left is probably a good meter for this. If you try a minor exploit and you fail it, then that's it. All right. Because basically, the reason why you might attempt any more is an expression of your building momentum. Okay. Minor exploits should involve opposed checks. Major exploits, these still do not directly increase damage. And like it says, the third bullet point on the right, the GM has the final say. Well, that's you. So it's up to you. Does it feel cool? Does it feel right? Does it feel balanced? And with major exploits, you're usually going to be making a luck check. You're after you same both of these, you have to like connect with your attack and cause damage, and then you have to succeed at a luck check. And if you risk much, you suffer much. If you fail a major exploit, that's it. Can't do anymore. And if you fail terribly, I would say you should embarrass yourself. Your pants should fall down or something. The same is a rescue. This probably won't occur unless you have a burly pig. That's something a bit special about my character and my campaign, that they gave me special permission. I always have a pig when I play Tales of Argosa. This is well known. I've established this since the beginning of the video. Um, and yeah, you can, somebody's in distress, aka weak, showing their weakness. They need help. If you take pity on them, but you could just use the finish them off sort of things if they're dragging you down. Look, I'm just saying, if you or your PC is fundamentally a bad person, that's something you might consider. All right, don't kill the messenger. Or if you're who you are, I guess you would kill the messenger. I'm gonna go. There's more, but you're scaring me. Man Alone was filmed in front of a living studio. If you like this video and you made it through the whole thing, why not join as a member? We have a nice time. We have a nice time together. I don't know. I probably wouldn't either. Sorry. Carry on.